Welcome to this Flutter Redux and Redux Thunk tutorial. So in this tutorial I will build this sample app which uses Redux and Redux Thunk, and this has a counter which will increase with this plus button, and minus button will be decrease it, and this random button will be generating a random value and assign it to the counter value. So the increase and decrease actions will be normal Redux actions, and random action will be thunk action. So it will manage and demonstrate some side effect behavior. And let's create a new project and start coding. And this is how you can create a new project, and I have already created it to save time. And let's open it with Visual Studio Code. So Flutter has actually created some files for us, and we can see in this lib folder we have several this main file, and I'm going to remove some unwanted comments, and I'm going to clear this file a little bit. So I have made my home page as a stateless widget, and I am returning an scaffold so our app can use it. First we add this widget and check whether we have everything in control up to now by running Flutter run. And I have started the emulator as well. This is an old application which you are currently seeing. We should see blank white screen. So I think everything is working fine. So first let's add an app bar to our application, and later we will add our body into our application. And app bar should have a title, and I am giving title as Redux and Thunk. And app bar works fine, and I am adding the body. In body I am adding a column widget, and column widget have a children array, and I am adding the first widget as a container which will have a button, and this floating action button will have an icon. So let's run this. So we have and a button here. So I will just copy paste this to get another button, and it will be Yes, we have two buttons here. I would prefer these buttons in the center, so I will wrap this with a center widget. And this one as well. And you can see the output, and we need the count as well. Count I will be hard coding here for demo purpose. And let's see, one. So I will add some styles, and I will increase the font size, and I like some padding between these items, so I will add paddings to these containers. Add padding, symmetric, vertical, wet, and let's check it. Yes, that looks nice. And I will add padding to these as well. So we have a basic structure here. So to increase and decrease, and we need another button to get a random value. So we'll add it as well, adding children. This child will be a raised button with type of text. And let's see it. Yes, random. So I would prefer this in red and blue as well. So raise button have this property color, and I would like to give some elevation as well. So it's in the disable mode because we haven't add any on press function to it. So let's take it, yeah, random, and I would prefer to have more font size, style, so let's reload it. Yeah, it looks nice. So my target is to add actions to increase and decrease, and this will be firing an asynchronous action which will trigger a thunk and will finally update the status of the app. So to do that, we need some files, reduce some files as a reducer we need a reducer, and we need an initial app state, and as well as we need to define our actions. So to work with Redux, we should import Redux to our application as well. To do that, go to this pubspec YML and add Redux and Flutter Redux to your application. So later we will be also needing Redux Thunk as well, so I will add it in here immediately. So in VS Code we can see that pub-get is automatically running after I save this file. If not, you can run this in your terminal as a pub-get, so the dependencies will be downloaded into your project. So I'm going to create actions we need that in our application. So we need actions for increasing, decreasing, as well as to get a random value. So in Dart we can create actions, we can implement actions as classes. So I use this class as an action and decrease. So the asynchronous action get set value sync will be implement. I will implement this later. So I have these two increase and decrease actions. So to use these actions we should have a reducer. So reducer is something like this. It's a function which gets and some state and action, and it will return its new app state. It's something like this. A reducer is a function which get an app state, it is the current app state, and it also get some action, and it will do some modifications or something, and it will return new app state. So we need this app state model as well, so I will create it. So the thing is this app state should not be mutable at any time. So in this reducer we must create a new app state, and that new app state should be returned. I will get into that later. So in this application we should keep count as our state. So that's the only thing we want to keep. So I will add this constructor, this count, and if you are familiar with that, this means you should always pass the count value to the app state. So I would like to add a initial value to this. So I will create another method which give a new upstate from which will modify the upstate from given upstate. It will be used in the future. So I'm using this upstate class in reducer, so I have to import this, and in this reducer function we get previous state, and this actions type will be dynamic. That means we cannot predict this upfront which class we are getting, which type of object we are getting to the reducer. So since we cannot mutate the upstate, we should create a new upstate to return. So new upstate should have all properties which currently have, which the previous state have. To do that, I use this from upstate function which I defined earlier. So next thing is in JavaScript or web development, we use a switch statement to go through the actions. In here we just use if statements. If action is increase, I have a typo. So action is increase, the new states count should be increased. Likewise, face button have this property, count should be decreased, else nothing happened, and we return new state. So this is our simple reducer, and we need to connect this state, this redux state to our application. So this is my main page, main dot file. In here we need to create a store, a redux store. So in this run app function, run app method, I will create a store. And I need to import these files as well. I need to import Redux. So I am getting an error here, maybe. Okay, the pub get resolve has failed. So let's solve that again. And the dependencies have not been resolved, so I will run this. So let's see. Yeah, the dependencies has been resolved. So reducer, we need a reducer. So I have imported the app state as well. So I'm going to initialize this store. To initialize an store, we should have a reducer and reducer function and initial state initialize this store. So reducer, we have a reducer function defined, but we don't have this initial state, so I'm going to create that also. So I will give count as 5. So and I will create store as well. Store should have a reducer function and initial state. So I will import this user function. So we have an store which having this initial state. So and we should pass this store to my app. And my app should get and store this value in here immediately. So in VS Code we can see that pub get is automatically running after I and okay. So in this build method we should provide our store to our application. So I will wrap this with store provider, create actions so our application can use this redux state. So title, I will just remove this and let's see what has happened to our application to check whether there are any errors. Yes, there is an error. Store is not. So let me fix this issue and get back. So actually the error was I was just restarting the app. Since the application state changed, I had to use Shift R to do a hot restart. So the application is running fine, and so I need to use this Redux state in my application to increase and decrease this count. So I will go to my code, and what should happen is when I click on first let's use this count as our state. So currently the count is hard coded. So to use Redux state in our application, we must connect this widget with our store. To do that, we have a widget called store connector, and it has two main functions. The first one is the converter function, and the second one is the builder function. So first one, the first converter function will take our store and will return a view model. So let's get into this function's definition. So it takes a store and returns a view model. So we can do some optimizations here, but I will just return store here. In build function, it takes the context and as well as the view model, which is passed from here. In here we just pass our store, so I am going to get it here. So this build function will return our children. So I will add this into this return, and yes. So we have the let's restart the application. Okay, no errors. So I'm going to use the count from the store to display store.count and store.state. So let's restart this. Yeah, 5 is the amount we initially gave in here as the initial state. You can see that, and if I change this and do a hot restart, and you can see it's changing to 15. So the application uses our current Redux store state, and we need to fire some actions to using the reducer and the application to work. So to do that, I am using when I click this plus button, the increase action should fire, and I will add it in here. So on pressed, our store should dispatch an action. It is increase action. I think I have a typo again. Increase. Okay. Okay, let's check that. Yeah, it's working. So when we are pressing the minus button, it should decrease. So it's working as well. So the next thing is we want to connect asynchronous function. So we want to demonstrate asynchronous behavior to this random button. So to do that, I will create a thunk action to handle this, and I will go to actions.dart file, and I will create this class function. Actually it's a function. Thunk actions are functions. Functions which returns an asynchronous function. Thunk actions are functions which returns asynchronous functions. So it should return an asynchronous function. And return type, and sorry, the argument is type of stop. So its return type is thunk action. So we can do some asynchronous task here. And we can, after doing some asynchronous task, we can dispatch some action. So this is the behavior. So in this asynchronous task can be like getting data from an API, things like that happening here, and we can dispatch some action here. So I'm going to do some demo, and I'm going to set some random value to this counter. So I'm going to do some demo like that. So I want to get a value, a random value. So we need to import math library. Maximum value is 50. So I am generating a random integer value with maximum of 50, and I want this to happen in asynchronous way. So I'm assuming that this happens in future, and in a synchronous manner. So we will which happened here was, I will explain this. I delayed this method. Actually this is the function which is getting me a random value, so I have delayed it 300 milliseconds using this future delayed method. So after that I will have this value in my code after this has finished running. So this will wait until this function runs. So after that I can do the action dispatching. So here we can dispatch any action. Currently we only have this increase and this decrease action. If we do one action from these, the counter will be increased, but we cannot set value to it. So I am adding a new action as set value, which we can use to set value. So it will have a final in payload. And we can use this action to use in the reducer. So I'm going to reducer and I'm going to add another else if here, else if the action is set value, new state dot count will be action dot payload, right? So what happened was, in this, when we press this random button and I want to fire a thunk action, if we press this floating action button, it dispatched the decrease action. Likewise I want to fire dispatch get random value action, so it will be captured by this it will be this thunk action. So it will do some asynchronous task and get this value, and that value is dispatched using another action, and this action will be used in this reducer to update this app state. So the thing is, the first thing is we need to fire this thunk action, so it is same as other actions. So the other thing is this reducer is listening to these normal actions, but to listen to these thunk actions we should add a middleware to our store. So we can do this in here and add thunk middleware here for these files as well. Thunk middleware, and this should be imported from Redux Thunk. So we have created a store which have a reducer and initial state, and we have add thunk middleware to it as well. This thunk middleware will capture these thunk actions, and this set value async thunk action will get a value synchronously, and it will dispatch a new action to use in the reducer function, and the reducer function will use that action's payload to set it in the app state count. So let's check we have everything wired correctly. So minus plus is working, random is not working. So let's check what we have missed here. So first let me do a hot restart. So I had to do a hot restart because the application state have been altered. So we have had to tell that Flutter in hot restarting the application the state has also been changed. So what happens is pretty simple. We have wired our application with Redux and Redux Thunk. So you can do API calls, something like that in here, and the app state will update the widget tree as well. So in here I have told you that we have to do some optimization as well. I will explain it in another video. If you have any questions, and also if you need to correct any additional things in this tutorial, please leave a comment, and in next video I will do some clarifications about this converter function, so it will optimize our application. So thank you. we can see that the main sample code is already there. So I'm going to remove this data. So I don't need these comments, and I'm going to change this title. Flutter Redux Thunk. So my home page, actually I hit these class, so I need stateless widget, and I'm going to implement home page, and I will be returning a simple scaffold here. So let's run this thing to see whether we have any errors. So I have opened the emulator, so this should give us a basic scaffold. So this is the our empty scaffold, you can see. So so I need a counter and 3 buttons. So to do that, let's add an app bar first. App bar with a title. So let's add this title. Title should be a text widget, and let's hot reload it. And to scaffold body, I will add a column. Column has multiple childrens, so I will add some containers. Container which have the first button